The storm had started before sunset, the kind that turned the sky into a wall of white and the wind into a living, howling thing. Out in the Montana wilderness, Emily Carter knew better than to take it lightly. She had already tucked her 2 children, Lily and Sam, under a heap of blankets near the fire and checked the woodpile twice. The power lines had gone down hours ago, and her old cabin creaked under the weight of the snow. Then came the sound, low at first, like distant thunder. A rumble that didn't fit the rhythm of the storm. Her first thought was an avalanche, her second was impossible, engines. Motorcycles. Out here, in a blizzard, Emily went to the window and brushed away the frost with her sleeve. Headlights pierced through the swirling snow, one, then another, then what looked like an entire column of them. Her pulse raced. 20, 25 bikes, maybe more, crawling up her narrow driveway like ghosts emerging from the storm. "Mom," Lily whispered, her little face pale. "Who is that?" Emily forced a smile. "I don't know, baby. Stay here." She grabbed the rifle her late husband had kept above the door, just in case. When she cracked open the door, icy wind slapped her face, stealing her breath. The riders were barely visible under layers of snow, their leather jackets stiff, their movements sluggish. One of them dismounted and stumbled toward her, a giant of a man with a beard white from frost. "Ma'am," he shouted over the wind. We didn't mean to come up here. Storm caught us, roads are gone." Before he could finish, one of the bikers, a young woman, collapsed into the snow. That broke the last of Emily's hesitation. "Get in here," she yelled, lowering the gun. "All of you, now." The bikers exchanged uncertain glances. They weren't used to people welcoming them, especially not into a tiny cabin in the middle of nowhere. But the storm left no choice. They trudged in, stamping snow from their boots, steam rising off their soaked clothes. Emily ran to the pantry, her heart hammering. She had little, some canned soup, a few loaves of bread, powdered cocoa, but she set everything she had on the table. "You can dry off by the fire," she said, ladling soup into mismatched mugs. "Eat before you freeze." A heavy silence followed, the kind that came from disbelief. One of the men, his knuckles tattooed and his eyes wary, said quietly, "You sure about this, lady?" "We could be anybody." Emily met his gaze without flinching. "Then be the kind of anybody that eats and warms up." Something changed in that room. The bikers, rough edges softened. Laughter cracked the tension as they sipped the soup and thawed their hands by the fire. Her children peeked out from behind a blanket fort, eyes wide with awe. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, warmth grew, not just from the fire, but from something far rarer, trust. Emily didn't know it then, but that single act, opening her door to 25 freezing strangers, would ripple far beyond that stormy night. When morning came, the storm had finally loosened its grip on the valley. The snow outside glowed gold under the rising sun, and the air carried that deep, untouched stillness that follows a blizzard. Inside the cabin, the fire had burned low, and the scent of wood smoke clung to everything. The floor was littered with sleeping bags, blankets, and a few leather jackets hung by the stove to dry. Emily stirred quietly, trying not to wake her guests. Her children were still asleep, curled up together by the hearth. She stepped outside to fetch more wood, her boots sinking deep into the snow, and she stopped, stunned. The yard was a frozen battlefield of motorcycles, all half buried under white drifts, each one a silent monument to the chaos of the night before. A door creaked behind her. "Mornin', ma'am." Rex, the massive biker with the frostbitten beard, stood there, holding out a steaming mug of coffee, her own mug. "Hope you don't mind," he said with a grin. "Made a pot." Emily smiled faintly, taking the cup. "You made coffee in my kitchen. Couldn't let the lady who saved us freeze her fingers off," he said simply. She laughed softly, feeling her tension ease. For all their size and leather, the men, and a few women, had shown nothing but gratitude. They helped shovel snow off her porch, chopped firewood, and even fixed the door hinge that had been squeaking for months. Lily and Sam watched them with fascination, whispering and giggling as if these bikers were characters straight out of a storybook. Over breakfast, Rex sat at her small wooden table and studied her home. "You live here all alone with the kids?" Emily nodded. "Yeah, my husband, he died 2 years ago. Car accident. We moved here to start fresh, but it's not easy." Rex's eyes softened. "You've been holding this place together on your own, huh?" "Trying to," she admitted with a faint smile. "Winters can be rough, but the kids love the quiet. And I love them." He nodded slowly, glancing around, at the cracked windowpanes patched with tape, the threadbare curtains, the uneven roof visible through the frosted glass. It was clear this woman had been surviving, not living. Before they left, the group gathered in the snow, revving their engines one by one. Rex handed her a card. "If you ever need anything, and I mean anything, you call this number. We owe you." Emily took it, chuckling nervously. "I won't bother you, but, thank you." He smiled under his beard. "You didn't bother us, ma'am. You reminded us what good looks like." Then they were gone, 25 bikes cutting through the snow in a roaring line, fading into the mountain pass. The sudden silence felt strange, almost too quiet. That night, as Emily tucked her kids into bed, she felt a lingering warmth, the kind that came from helping others, the kind her late husband used to say was the real measure of a person. But just before dawn, a new sound shattered the peace, the distant, growing thunder of engines. Not 25 this time. Dozens. Hundreds. The rumble rolled through the valley like an approaching storm. Emily sat up, heart pounding. When she stepped outside, the horizon shimmered with headlights. A sea of bikers was coming her way. Emily's breath hitched as the thunder of engines grew louder, rolling through the valley like an earthquake. The snow vibrated beneath her boots. Her children ran to the window, pressing their faces against the frosted glass. "Mom, there's so many," Sam whispered, eyes wide. And there were. A flood of bikers, at least 200 strong, poured down the mountain road, their headlights cutting through the morning mist like a swarm of stars. The air filled with the deep, rhythmic roar of engines, a sound that was both intimidating and strangely reassuring. Emily's first instinct was fear. This was too much, too sudden. What if something was wrong? What if those men from last night had brought trouble to her door? She grabbed her coat and stepped out onto the porch, snow crunching under her slippers. Then she saw him, Rex, leading the pack, his bike painted black and silver, a massive, Iron Brotherhood, patch gleaming on his back. He parked right in front of her cabin, killed the engine, and grinned. "Mornin', ma'am," he called. "Hope we're not too early." Emily blinked, dazed. "Rex, what is this?" He swung off his bike and motioned to the crowd behind him. "You said you didn't want thanks. Well, too bad, we don't do debts." The riders began dismounting, forming an organized, almost military-like operation. Pickup trucks followed behind, hauling lumber, paint, insulation, and tools. A few women started unloading boxes of food and winter clothes. Someone brought a generator. Someone else brought toys for the kids. Emily stood frozen, overwhelmed. I don't understand." Rex walked up to her and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You opened your home to 25 strangers in a storm. You didn't ask who we were, didn't care what patches we wore. You just saw people who needed help. That kind of kindness, well, that's a rare thing, ma'am. We figured it was time someone returned it." Tears filled Emily's eyes as she watched the bikers fan out across her property. Some were patching the roof, others fixing her fence. A few replaced her cracked windows and repaired the old porch swing her husband had built years ago. Laughter filled the cold air, mixing with the sound of drills and saws. Her kids ran outside, squealing with joy as a woman with braided hair handed them hot cocoa and new gloves. A few bikers showed Sam how to carve his name into a log with a pocketknife, while Lily helped paint the porch railing bright red. By sunset, Emily's cabin looked reborn, solid, warm, and glowing with new life. The snow sparkled under the fading light as the bikers gathered around the fire pit, roasting marshmallows and swapping stories. Rex walked up, holding something behind his back. "We got you something." He handed her a black leather jacket, soft and heavy, with a patch on the back that read, "Honorary Sister, Iron Brotherhood." Emily laughed through her tears. "You can't be serious." "Oh, we're dead serious," Rex said, smiling. "You're family now." As the engines roared to life and the bikers rode off into the night, Emily stood on her porch, wrapped in her new jacket, her children clinging to her sides. The valley echoed with the thunder of their farewell. The world was still cold, but Emily no longer felt alone, because somewhere out there, on every highway and in every storm, 200 bikers now called her sister.